Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on caste, the last part. Now to summarize the main points of my thesis. In my opinion, there have been several mistakes committed by the students of caste which have misled them in their investigations. European students of caste have unduly emphasized the role of color in the caste system, themselves impregnated by color prejudices. They very readily imagine it to be the chief factor in the caste problem. But nothing can be farther from the truth, and Dr. Kedkar is correct when he insists that all the princes, whether they belong to the so-called Aryan race or the so-called Dravidian race, were Aryas. Whether a tribe or a family was racially Aryan or Dravidian was a question which never troubled the people of India until foreign scholars came in and began to draw the line. The color of the skin had long ceased to be a matter of importance. Again, they have mistaken mere descriptions for explanation and fought over them as though they were theories of origin. There are occupational, religious, etc. caste, it is true, but it is by no means an explanation of the origin of caste. We have yet to find out why occupational groups are caste, but this question has never ever been raised. Lastly, they have taken caste very lightly as though a Brit had made it. On the contrary, caste, as I have explained it, is almost impossible to sustain, for the difficulties that it involves are tremendous. It is true that caste rests on belief, but before belief comes to be the foundation of an institution, the institution itself needs to be perpetuated and fortified. My study of the caste problem involves four main points. First, that in spite of the composite makeup of the Hindu population, there is a deep cultural unity. Second, that caste is a parceling into bits of a larger cultural unit. Third, that there was one caste to start with and that classes have become caste through imitation and excommunication. Peculiar interest attaches to the problem of caste in India today, as persistent attempts are being made to do away with this unnatural institution. Such attempts at reform, however, have aroused a great deal of controversy regarding its origin as to whether it is due to the conscious command of a supreme authority or is an unconscious growth in the life of a human society under peculiar circumstances. Those who hold the latter view will, I hope, find some food for thought in the standpoint adopted in this paper. Apart from its practical importance, the subject of caste is an all-absorbing problem, and the interest aroused in me regarding its theoretic foundations has moved me to put before you some of the conclusions which seem to me well-founded and the grounds upon which they may be supported. I am not, however, so presumptuous as to think them in any way final or anything more than a contribution to a discussion of the subject. It seems to me that the car has been shunted on wrong lines, and the primary object of the paper is to indicate that I regard to be the right path of investigation with a view to arrive at a serviceable truth. We must, however, guard against approaching the subject with a bias. Sentiment must be outlawed from the domain of science and things should be judged from an objective standpoint. For myself, I shall find as much pleasure in a positive destruction of my own ideology as in a rational disagreement on a topic which, notwithstanding many learned disquisitions, is likely to remain controversial forever. To conclude, while I am ambitious to advance a theory of caste, if it can be shown to be untenable, I shall be equally willing to give it up. Dear student, this is the last part of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's paper on caste in India. So, in the next video, we will try to summarize this paper both in English